I realized I became a teenager when my relationship with my parents and family and gaining what you might say like more freedom or just like more access to do things than you normally would have access to as like a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or something.
I realized that I was a teenager. I was in like 6th grade, I think, and there's this sort of shift from elementary school to middle school where nobody really prepares you for it.
It was probably when I had to take the bus home for the first time. Normally I would stay at an after-school program until late, and then my parents would come get me. But being here at high school, I didn't always have after-school activities, so when I had to take the bus for the first time, learn the routes, I would see a lot of new people.
I became a teenager when I had to stop depending on my parents as much as I used to when I was younger. When I noticed that they stopped getting lunch or they stopped making or getting dinner ready for me, I realized that, okay, this is where I have to start doing my own thing now.
Kind of just realized that, hey, nobody's really gonna hold my hand anymore at this point, and I have to start taking care of myself.
Kind of gave me a new sense of like responsibility, and it kind of hit me that this is something my parents wouldn't let a kid do, you know.
Now as a teenager, I think I'm much more aware of what I do and what I say. I think before I act, I think before I speak now, out of nervousness or anxiety, but also just out of just like the people around me and how I want to make an impression and how I want to affect them.
I think that the pressure I experience the most is definitely pressure from others. It's a combination of trying to make others proud and also trying to make myself proud, which is a really difficult balance to get through. Like pressure from my parents, pressure from teachers, pressure from kind of just everybody to make sure that I succeed. To please others, I have to please myself, but to please myself, I have to please others. So I'm a theater company, and there's always a lot of pressure when we're doing casting, and I'm always constantly trying to please my director. Just putting it on me to be the way that she wants me to be is really difficult, and I think that's really affected my ability to show my true acting because she views me in a way that isn't the way that I view myself in an acting sense. I think that if I were to conform to the way that everybody wants me, I feel like I already kind of do that, and if I was to completely give in, I don't truly think that like I'm happy now pleasing people, but I think that a part of me is like, hey, if I can make everybody happy, then I'll stay silent because I allow others to affect the way that I think about myself.
I experienced the most academic pressure, so pressure to succeed academically. I started to feel this pressure probably at about 8th grade when we came back from quarantine. I'm not quite sure why, but it just kind of started sticking in my head, like the grades are important, the outcome is important. This is kind of embarrassing, but I was starting to get like college TikToks on my For You page about like people getting into these places and things. And so I would ask questions, or I'd get super in-depth into this, and I'd be like, oh, what I am doing is gonna matter for something, because if I don't get this, then I can't apply for that. And if I can't apply for that, I can't apply for this next thing. And it would just turn into like a whole like domino effect of me being like placing all my pressure on this like one test that I would get. In my history class, we had a big like first time test, and we had to write a short answer question. And when I got back the grade for the short answer question, I had like studied all night, like I was sure like that I did well. And then I had gotten 80 out of 100. And I was so upset with myself, and it dropped my overall grade to a 92. And that 92 really like freaked me out for a while, like, because I think with the standards I put on myself, if I'm below like a 95, that's a danger of dropping to a B with just like one single test grade. And I guess I don't trust myself enough, even though I work really hard. So I always like having like a padding, because when it's too close for comfort, I'm really worried that, you know, what I worked up to till this point is just gonna fall apart.
I experience the pressure to hide my identity the most. The parts of my identity that I hide is my sexuality and my gender. A lot of people, they see me as a straight girl, so the expectations that are put on me is that, oh, I should be having a boyfriend soon, especially by my parents, that, oh, I have to get married, I have to have a husband, and I have to have kids in the future. There was a time, yes, in middle school, I remember I was very open about my identity, but because of that, whenever like they found out, oh, you're gay, then they would start acting like really strangely to me, or they would be like, I can change you. Physically, it has affected me in the way that I would get panic attacks, and I would eat less because I just felt really, really stressed about it. There would be days or there would be nights just after school where I felt like the whole day I was holding all of this in, and then once I got home, I released it into this big, welled up panic attack or anxiety attack, and I just felt so awful about it. There was this night where I just had a bad night, and I had a really, really bad panic attack, which sent me to the hospital. And my dad had to take me there. He realized that I was going through something, and he realized it, but he didn't necessarily acknowledge it. And so when I got home, both my mom and my dad, they talked to me about it, and they were like, what's going on with you? And at that moment, I really, really wanted to tell them. But like, as I was like coming close to telling them the truth about it, I felt like I just shut down at that moment. Like, I just couldn't tell them exactly what it was that I was going through and what it is that I'm hiding from them. I felt like I couldn't breathe.
The kind of pressure I experience the most is body image, or just having to mature the way I look in order to fit into what is the ideal. The particular things I struggle with is just body weight, and then not being skinny, not being skinny enough, not being like that perfect, not being what I have had in my head as perfect. The pressures were first exposed to me through media, but I didn't really realize it. So like TV, like teenagers on TV, or kids my age, like at the time in middle school, like 12, 13, my age, were like perfectly slim. But I didn't really feel that, like I didn't really realize how that affected me. I was kind of just like, oh, this is just TV, and I thought TV was life, you know? But it didn't really hit until I started looking around at like my actual life around me, the people who are surrounding me, like my friends. And that's not any pressure that they have put on me. That's just me looking at them and thinking, oh, that's what I want to be. Because not only are they beautiful, but I also think, this sounds like kind of shallow. Not that like being skinny makes them beautiful, but it is like a desire I wish I could have, because I think that would only enhance my beauty. And then it's also just a family thing too. Oh, you've gotten skinnier, or oh, you've gotten fatter, or oh, have you been eating more, or you should eat less, or you would be so pretty if this, you would be so pretty if you lost a few pounds. Like, look at you, you could be like Miss Universe this if you just worked out a little, or if you lost some weight. I think despite the fact that I know it's okay to be who I am, it still negatively affects me, because it's negatively affected me my whole life, even before I was aware of it. Being a teenager, like, you're just so insecure about everything, and you're overthinking everything, and you're really concerned with how the world perceives you and how you put yourself out there. And because I think everything that we do is very like, how are people going to see me today? Or at least for me, like the way I dress, the way I handle conversations, the way I greet people, the way I like talk to people. I always think, is this person going to like this? Is this person going to perceive me in a positive light?
I think being a teenager and also dealing with this pressure is really hard because you're kind of still a kid in everyone's eyes, and I feel like kids are afraid to speak up because they are still seen as kids. Regardless of how mature your opinions are, you're always going to be seen as a child because you are a child. And I think that if I was older, I would be able to speak up more against this pressure, but because I'm still so young, it feels nearly impossible, and I feel like a part of me is just allowing it to happen.
I am the one that puts the most pressure on myself because of mainly the fear of the unknown. Like, if I were to go out and put myself out there and there was this just a whole load of new pressure that I had to face or I had to deal with, I'm afraid of that because I don't know how that would go and if it would be worse than the pressure I'm putting on myself. Some days I would just think about how I would have to hide myself from others because I am who I am, and I would collapse at that thought because everyone just wants to be themselves, and that's exactly how I feel. I just want to be me.
I definitely get overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. I've had moments where, like, I will just kind of, like, break down. I feel like I'm at a point in, like, the pressure that I have been putting on myself where I, like, labeled it as key. And it has been really hard for me to alleviate myself from this pressure, but recently my family took a trip and I made sure I finished all my homework ahead of time, and I just had a long weekend of nothing. No assignments, no tasks I had to do. It was just that nice break that you needed to kind of come back refreshed and be like, okay, I can do this.
I haven't outwardly spoken out about this until actually like a few days ago with my friend, and kind of just speaking about it and knowing that they were there helped me, just because not even like knowing that they were there for that specific reason, but just knowing that they were there in like a time of need and having them around me, knowing that they were loyal and that they cared about me. I think just letting people around you know that you love them and that you care for them and that you want to be there for them for anything is enough for them to feel that reassurance.
My two best friends have helped me the most throughout this entire thing. They've been through every single panic attack with me, and they held on so tightly that I felt like I had a foundation or like a base that I can fall onto if I ever fell apart. They bring out the part of me that is a teenager, that is just someone who wants to struggle through the days of school or going out and enjoying life.
I know we all go through our own pressures, but nobody's ever telling us to be perfect. It doesn't matter as much as you think it does.
Just, love yourself. It's like the hardest thing to do, but everybody has something good or more than one thing good in themselves, and they should love themselves for that because everyone's amazing and has amazing aspects about them.
Don't take everything that people say to you to heart. Like, sometimes people are just genuinely mean because they just want to be mean. It's not because of you, it's just because of who they are as a person. And definitely take a step back and realize, hey, this person might also be hurting, and I shouldn't let their hurt me.
I think if everyone was just a little bit nicer and a little more empathetic, then a lot of people would not be feeling the same way as I am. Like, if people just found it in their hearts to sometimes just say one singular kind word instead of a mean one, then I definitely feel a lot safer, and I'm sure a lot of other people would too.
High school's not the end of the world. Like, we're all gonna find our way, and we're all eventually gonna be like 30, and doing our own thing and hopefully happy. And high school is not the end of life. It's just 4 years, and it's like a period that you're going to go through. So you got this. Make sure it's fun.